Right, so after another 120 minutes plus penalty shootout combo, Portugal and Ronaldo have just been eliminated from Euro 2024. And while this video will obviously focus on the latter of the two topics for obvious reasons, I want to touch on the actual game a little bit first. Now, as much as the encounter offered little in terms of entertainment, from a tactical standpoint, it was actually pretty fascinating to see two sides play with their marquee players both out of form. One clearly not 100% in terms of fitness, and one close to 100 in terms of age. And again, don't worry, we'll get to him. But I want to start off a bit to the side, more specifically the left side. And yes, as I predicted, the midfield overload and, to be honest, pretty much everything came from that side, meaning it came from Nuno Mendes and Rafael Leao. Like, bro, I actually wonder what the Portuguese people think about him, because I get frustrated with him and I don't even like Portugal. And it's strange because he was actually sick for most parts. I mean, even on Friday, Rafa was running riot with the rhythm and runs of Ronaldinho right up to release time, and then he turns into fucking Fred every time. Man, it was annoying. But yeah, as I said, I expected that. What I didn't expect though was the French to win on penalties. Considering either side's previous record and Diogo Costa's performance the other day, that came as a shock. And you know what? Massive respect, man. Also, I'm not a huge fan of Joao Felix either, but leave him the f*** alone. Anyone can miss a penalty. Either way, let's move on to someone who I obviously am a huge fan of. One Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro. So at 39 years of age, Ronaldo has just completed his 11th major tournament, and remarkably, this was the first one where he failed to score. And look, man, as much as I love the guy, it's pretty obvious that he isn't as good as he used to be. And with the Portuguese side now being filled with young talent, particularly in the forward areas, the shouts of retirement for Ronnie seem to be more common than ever before. And in all honesty, it's understandable, because even as one of his biggest fans, if you ask me whether he should retire from the Portuguese national team or not, as much as it hurts to say, I'm gonna have to say, yeah, no, of course he shouldn't retire, you lopsided monk. And here's why. Right, so I don't know how many of you were subscribed to me during the World Cup in Qatar, but I mean, I only have like 12 subscribers now, so I'm guessing back then it was about 4. But still, though, all 4 of you probably remember just how god-awful my track record was during that tournament when it came to predictions. And in all fairness, it's always been like that for me. My predictions in MMA and boxing are almost always pretty accurate, while my predictions for the sport I love the most are usually wrong. Apart from this tournament. And that's no coincidence, because if you go back and watch the videos I made on Portugal's Euro 2024 journey, and my predictions regarding how a game will go, the tactics that will be deployed, how a player will perform, as well as the end scoreline, most of it was pretty spot on. And you know why that is? You know what changed? Because I actually did my fucking homework. As in, I watched this side pretty closely during the qualifications. And fact is, Portugal played and still play with a very cohesive system that is equally as dependent on each one of the 11 players as possible. Which means, unlike the previous years where it was basically all about him, Cristiano Ronaldo only has a certain role in this team, which is basically based around his movement across short distances. The most vital of those movements being, when Portugal play a side who press high, Ronnie usually drops deeper, drags out 1, sometimes 2 defenders with him, giving players like Leao or Jota space to run in behind. In contrast, when they play against a low block, he usually stays up the pitch, hoping to get at the end of crosses, cutbacks, or find himself in a position where he can have a long shot on goal. And with that all in mind, let's go through his performances during this tournament. First game, Czech Republic. Easily the best performing forward on the pitch. His movement and decision making was near on impeccable. And as I correctly predicted before the game, it was going to be a tight affair with Portugal running out marginal winners near the end. And how did I manage to correctly predict that despite there being a clear disparity between both teams in terms of talent? Well, as I said, styles make fights. The Czech Republic were a defensively solid side who almost gave nothing away. And you know what I also said? I also said that if you did doubt Portugal because of how tight this game was, then you should just wait for Turkey versus Portugal this Saturday. You'll see. And you did see Portugal were comfortable 3-0 winners against a Turkish side that were easily better than Czech Republic in terms of quality. And as for Ronaldo that game, again, solid. Practically every one of his movements had purpose, and I'll delve deeper into this in another video by the way, since I was actually there and therefore saw it up and close. Not to mention in that game he created a few chances and got an assist. And then there was the Georgia game, his only outright bad performance of that tournament. And guess what? It wasn't a meaningless game. This sounds familiar. And finally versus Slovenia, he played against arguably the best defensively organised side of the tournament, right up against two centre-backs who specialise in crosses and still managed to find space multiple times with the ball missing him by inches. And also, this is something no one talks about, but unlike his usual dead ball hogging, his free kicks that day were fucking dangerous. So as you can see, Ronaldo was far more good than bad in this tournament. He played his role for this Portugal team to a very good level. And also guess what? Unlike the negative effect Harry Kane's inactivity off the ball has on England at times, Ronaldo's had no effect whatsoever for Portugal, as they were still one of the best pressing sides of the tournament. And how was that possible? Because once again, that's how they were always meant to be set up. And they all did their jobs, including this guy. And also, let's be clear, those who are crying about the young talent on the bench, Portugal don't have another centre forward who can do that job as well as Ronaldo. I mean, as I said, Ramos is a very good player, but his only advantage over Ronaldo is his mobility. And as you can see from the pressing stats, Martinez has basically gotten around Ronnie's lack of mobility and more. So A, think before you speak next time, and B, I guess the question now is why? Why did Ronaldo get so many shouts of retirement despite clearly doing his job? Answer? Well, other than the obvious need to grab headlines and or hate for no reason, it's a combination of people, subconsciously or otherwise, comparing him to how he was during his prime, which is fucking dumb, or it's people just looking at the fact that he didn't score in this tournament. And in all honesty, this criticism would have been fair in like 2012 when the entire team was built around him to take the game on. But in this team, it's shared responsibility. It isn't just about taking unnecessary risks to find Ronaldo anymore. If it was still all built around him, Portugal will still be playing a 4-4-2 with Ronaldo drifting to the left. That's how he likes it. But unfortunately for him, those days are long gone. These guys instead rely on long spells of possession and patient build-up, and now he's simply just 1/11th of a bigger setup. And believe me, he did his job. But if you don't believe me because you're one of those morons that are just focused on him taking the most shots or whatever, seriously, shut the up. This has nothing to do with the team being built around him. Again, it wasn't. Or the Portuguese players spotting his every run and laying it on a plate for him. Again, they didn't. Instead, these stats are just a reflection of him getting desperate in certain moments and having small spells in games where he just shoots from anywhere and everywhere. Now, does that make him greedy and annoying? Yes. But does that make him bad or in need of serious contemplation of retirement? Stop drinking mouthwash. But again, it's only people who observe properly and watch regularly that notice these things. And surprise, surprise, most if not all of the people who spew this retirement horse shit don't do either. They instead either just make educated guesses or judge by skimming through games. But because they are ex-players who are now a part of the media, their words obviously have a huge effect when it comes to influencing / feeding the haters. People like Joe Cole, Alan Shearer, Peter Crouch, Micah Richards. But you know, I'm going to be completely transparent with this. You see, people like Shearer, Crouch or Richards, while I do question their level of research and disagree with their opinions, I don't exactly have a problem with them expressing their opinions. They're just opinions in a game of opinions, which is completely fine, in my opinion. However, there are certain types of people that actually do really annoy me when weighing in on this Ronaldo situation. And outside the obvious faceless Twitter trolls who basically live to see someone fail, these people fall in two categories. They are, number one, the OAP toxic fanboys. Prime example, Mr. Gary Lineker, my dad's favourite England striker, one of my favourite people to listen to from the footballing world, when he's not talking about Ronaldo. Because literally every time without fail, when he praises Ronaldo, he's simply just softening the blow for something coming up. Like a few days ago when he spoke about Cristiano's movement as a number 9. He was full of nothing but praises, before then immediately shitting on him with his poor free kick stats. And the funny thing is, I agree with him. Ronaldo shouldn't be taking free kicks, but it's the intentions that I have a problem with. Because not only was it obvious that this man was dying to talk about the negative side of Ronaldo's game like he always does, not only has he been doing this for years now, including, by the way, after Ronaldo's legendary performance against Hungary in 2016, when everyone else was in pure admiration of him and what he pulled off pretty much single-handedly, this old man still focused on the negative. Can you imagine if Messi did something like that? I guarantee fluid would have been coming out of him from the front end. But yeah, even now all these years later, he only compliments Ronaldo when he knows he's about to take it away. Proof? Go back to the France game. You know the amazing movement he mentioned Cristiano has? This was actually highlighted by Jose Font and Rio Ferdinand. They were praising Cristiano's movement when he left Muani or Saliba or whoever for dead. But did Gary Lineker join in this time? Did he fuck? Why would he? There isn't a blow that needed softening up. So he instead just mentioned how Ronaldo's finish wasn't great in that movement, before quickly moving on. Weird. Weird, dude. And as weird as what he does is, the reasons behind why he does it is actually pretty simple. It's not because he hates Ronaldo. This man is just an obsessed Messi fanboy. Or fan, old age, creepy bloke in his 60s. Doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but it's certainly more accurate. And that is what I mean. Cause listen, if Mr. Lineker was a 12-year-old idiot running rampant on Twitter acting like this, as pathetic as that would be, it would kinda be more normal. But the fact that he's 63 years old and is still fanboying over someone half his age so much that he feels the need to bring down his rival at every chance he gets, bro, that's not just toxic. It's also fucking creepy. Like real talk, man has kids almost the age of Messi and Ronaldo. I mean, I personally don't know what it's like being 63, but I can't imagine being obsessed with a guy half my age when I myself at their age, man. Unless they come out of my own balls, of course. But hey, speaking of balls though, you also have to give credit where credit's due. This man actually managed to successfully run a 3-hour live broadcast while having his mouth occupied by Messi's balls. That takes skill, fam. Okay, nah, come on, that was harsh. Believe it or not, I still love the man. He just seems to get weirder the older he gets. But still love him though. People who I don't love though is the second group of people that hate Ronaldo. And I call this bunch the all bark and blatantly bullied beta bitches. Okay, look, I'll be honest. This is slightly more of a personal pet peeve, but I've just never gotten along with people who've been bullied at school. Not all, of course, but most I've come across in person or online. Once they come out of their shell and gain even a bit of confidence post-school life, they just become insufferable. Which, don't get me wrong, it wouldn't have been that bad if it wasn't so obvious that they'd basically shit themselves if they were ever asked to repeat their words in person. And to be honest, when it comes to this category of people, I don't really want to waste my time giving a new example cause, well, there isn't really any point. Like, I only named Gary Lineker as an example of the previous category cause that man is a respected part of the footballing world, and him pushing agendas does heavily impact the way most people think, especially the ones who don't watch Portugal regularly to know better. But these bully victims, their opinions wouldn't really affect the masses, so who gives a fuck? Also, I know a couple of them personally and allow name checking them in front of all dozens of my fans. Just imagine the backlash. So instead, for the all bark and blatantly bullied beta bitches who hate Ronaldo category, I'll give an example of someone who I've already spoken about in the past. And that's this guy, the Huss from HITC 7. And disclaimer by the way, I haven't seen any video of this dude for about 2 years and have only really seen tweets here and there since then, so who knows, he might be different now. But here's my assessment from the time I remember. So when it comes to this guy and his criticism about Ronaldo, it's not really because he's a Messi fanboy. I mean, I'm sure he does prefer Messi, but it's a lot more about the fact that he hates Ronaldo and is able to give that strong opinion and have people agree with him because it makes him feel like an alpha male. And well, I'm sorry if this is mean, but obviously he's not used to that feeling. Come on, look at him. Ain't no one convincing me that this ain't the type of guy to hide behind his girlfriend if they jumped on the road. But I digress. But yeah, people like him criticizing Ronaldo really annoys me because, well, he just seems like someone, and I can think of a couple of people I know that are like that, who was heavily bullied but then gained confidence in one way or another, and now is kinda towing the line between being confident and being obnoxious. Which, again, would have been more acceptable in my opinion if it wasn't so obvious that he'd straight up soil himself on the spot if any of the people he criticizes online asked him to repeat everything face to face. And no, I haven't just come up with all this cheap sociological backstudy just from his criticism of Ronaldo. I'm not that melodramatic, I am. Cause look, facts are Ronaldo's my guy, of course I'm gonna back him. But from what I remember, this guy's also called out people like True Geordie, Andrew Tate, Dana White, Joey Barton. I don't like any of these guys. Yet, when I saw this guy digging those people out, it annoyed me cause, well, pussies who take comfort in being behind the screen annoy me. Like, come on, can you imagine how this wimp would act if someone like Andrew Tate confronted him in person? You're a bitch, don't talk about me on Twitter again. What the fuck do you think he'll say? Well, I think that's pretty rude. Anyways, I must go now as I've been grounded by my girlfriend for staying up past 6 PM, which is my bedtime. And also Freddie Adu. Which reminds me, I'm pretty sure 2 years ago he did mention that he had a girlfriend, and I'm not believing for a second that she doesn't just sometimes sit and wish her man was less of a wuss. It's biology at the end of the day. Anyways, getting a bit too far now. But you see, this is the thing. If this guy was also a 12-year-old with a footballer's avatar on Twitter, it would have been more understandable. But this guy's a grown man who's seemingly happy knowing that he's a pansy who can only talk big online. Yeah man, I'm not a fan of men who are like that. Sorry for gender stereotyping, I'm not sorry. But yeah, so if he or someone like him talks negative about Ronaldo, it's most probably because not only has he not watched Portugal properly, but it's also a combination of him not liking Ronaldo and liking the feeling of giving out a strong opinion that people agree with where he won't get checked up on. Oh, and also I'm sure he thinks he's funny. Oh dear. And as far as why he doesn't like Ronaldo, well, I'm sure some of the reasons are justified, but if you want me to expand on that with my BTEC level 23 philosophy, well, look at it like this. Ronaldo is a brash, arrogant prick who comes from a f***ed-up background and wears his heart on his sleeve, and therefore, only a certain type of person can really understand him enough to back him. Don't believe me? Well, check this. People who back Ronaldo: ex-hardman and football psycho Roy Keane, mafia boss lookalike and borderline legit thug Graham Souness, professional boxer and wife and kid attending enthusiast Tony Bellew, and maverick and outlaw cricketer Kevin Peterson. Now let's look at people who dislike Ronaldo. Well, first we have, with all due respect, self-confessed wuss Gary Lineker. Second we have, with all due disrespect, kiddie spitter who in his late 40s still threatens to bully people on social media. This guy whose idea of banter is trying to kiss Logan Paul's dad. This wimp who spends most of his time on Twitter calling out people who'd stomp him to death in person. I ain't making this stuff up, mate. And no, these hard man don't back Ronaldo cause he's a hard man himself. Far from it, man. This guy's nearly 40 and still cries a koi pond if you even mess his hair up. But it's cause people like Roy Keane or Tony Bellew understand the insecurities and frustrations as well as the element of wearing your heart on your sleeve that come from a certain type of upbringing. Whereas this guy, he still probably volunteers to get a spanking if he swears by accident. And please understand, I'm not saying you can't have an opinion on a player's performance if you can't say it to his face. Of course you can. It's a game of opinions, as I said, which is why I don't have a problem with Shearer or Crouchy or whoever. But when it's someone who seemingly just sees one side, nitpicks at flaws and has been so harsh with what he said that it's gone beyond football criticism and at least bordering on a personal attack like I've seen this guy do so in the past, it's not okay. And yeah, by the way, seriously, we're living in an age where guys who look like this actually attack men and get away with it. Screw you, internet. But yeah, man, if you're gonna be like that, then you better be sure that you'll be able to repeat it all in person. And as I said to him a couple of years back, there's no chance he'd be able to even stand properly next to all the people he goes in on online, including Ronaldo. Now, despite me bickering like a bitch for all this time, believe it or not, I actually don't hate this guy or pansies like him. I mean, I certainly don't love them like I do Gary Lineker, but there's no hate. If anything, it's just more of a total lack of respect. And also, to be 100% honest, this video is also partly a result of my bitch hole meter being pretty high because of a combination of me being already wound up because I know the criticism is coming, my personal dislike for people who are confident online without being able to hold a bag of lettuce over their head in person, and the fact that I haven't eaten yet today. Food is really important to me. Follow my Instagram Instagram for evidence. But yeah man, there's no actual hate. Hate is what I feel towards Jamie Carragher. Now that's hate. Whereas with people like this was, like I know this is kind of a dick move, but believe it or not, in person I usually just laugh at them. I'm sorry, but it's just hilarious how nervous they get. They're funny people, man. Just not when they talk about Ronaldo or David Beckham or Muhammad Ali or The Undertaker or whoever else I look up to. That ain't cool, bro. But yeah, other than the critics from those two categories, i.e. grown men who are still fanboys to a toxic extent like Gary Lineker, or beta males who nitpick at people they hate partly cause they gain confidence from being behind their keyboard like the bitch from 8ITC, anyone else I'm fine with having an opinion. Of course I am, man. This is football. This is sport. This is entertainment. It's just that when it comes to Ronaldo or this Portuguese team, I'm sorry if I sound arrogant, but I can pretty confidently say that my opinions pack significantly more research behind it and is more well informed than the vast majority of these ex-players who are now pundits, as well as all of the online pansies. Cause my friend, I've watched Portugal. I said all this was gonna happen. I know this team. I know this guy. And best believe, while retirement is closer now than ever before, and while that statement itself will only ring more true day by day, that actual day, just isn't today. And that is that. Agree or disagree beats indifference. Once again, don't forget to like, comment and share, and of course subscribe. Till next time, you keep rolling.